Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Ricky,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
59.
All right, folks. As always, whenever we have a podcast, we usually learn tons and we try to do our best to implement the things that we've learned and then come back to you and let you know how that worked and give our insight.
Or how it doesn't work.
And how sometimes it doesn't work. Last week, we were able to do our podcast with Dr. Snyder. If you haven't listened to it, go back and do it. It was an excellent one. I think there's a lot of things that he says that people won't say at times.
I think there's some things he says that can be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And so we want to go over and make sure that the framing for what he's saying is correct.
I think the number one most important things is that as we build on this relationship, it's a foundational build. There's certain core values that we have to have as we move forward to introduce new topics of intimacy into that relationship. And as we go through the podcast, we talk about all ranges, stuff that are foundational from the very beginning to other things as you've figured out the foundations that you can jump into and you can do. So we want to remind you that no matter where you're at, there's nothing wrong. You're not in the wrong spot. You're exactly where you should be. Why, Amy Lou? How do we know that?
Because that's where you are.
That's exactly where you are. And so that's exactly where you belong.
Start where your feet are planted.
That's right. And so as we introduce some of these topics, what we don't want is people to think I can never get there or maybe go and try and do stuff when those foundation parts aren't there.
Because I tried to do that. I tried to push myself faster and farther than I was ready. And you really have to take just the next step in front of you.
Right.
Not try and leap to the top.
I mean, this is why we probably put Jennifer Finlayson-Fife in timeout, right? Because we misused her topics to fight, but we also were trying to do things that we didn't have the foundation to go do either.
Yeah, for sure. And interestingly, I went back, I asked her assistant, Christy, for our original recording that we did with her on her podcast three and a half years ago. And it was really interesting to hear our voices and where we were then.
Yeah.
And what we were struggling and working through, what we were untangling, and to see how that untangled and just remember. Sometimes it's hard to remember. Like I have traces of where we were, but to actually hear our voices and hear us really
in that struggle.
Yeah, in that struggle.
And I would say it 3 years ago when we were on the podcast, we'd come a long ways then. Like we're on the small struggle bus instead of the large struggle bus, but we were definitely on the struggle bus.
And I had someone in a group coaching ask me the other night, like, okay, if I do this work, meaning relationship work on his marriage, how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro,
you can't measure it that way.
There's so many things. I think we've been at this for
10 plus years.
Well, intentionally being coached and working and reading and discussing at least 5 or 6.
Yeah. And then it became our everyday lives, right? So It's like we talk about it every day and coach people on it.
And it wasn't that we didn't want that before. Before that, we were consuming a lot of information, trying to find the answers. We just had no idea what applied to us.
Right. So going back to Dr. Snyder's podcast, I think the biggest takeaway for me was when Dr. Snyder talked about consumption. When he talked about stop trying to produce and start to consume. And Amy and I have worked a lot on some of the other steps that I think are really important before that, which the simmering steps he talks about, being just there and being aware of your surroundings and being able to connect in that way. And I think those are some of those foundational things we talked about that have to happen first before you can go into this mode.
I think also not only just awareness, but I think in the larger context of the relationship, you have to make sure neither of you is in a duty or servicing framing still. Because if you go and try to consume or take touch in that framing,
We bet.
it was, and that's where we were like,
I tried to consume before, but
yeah.
I for sure. But I was like
And it was called
taking,
grabbing and it
yeah,
was annoying
yeah.
and it was irritating. And
Got
so
myself in lots of trouble.
I think we want to just frame this up. Okay, there are things that need to be foundationally cleared up first before some of these principles can really flourish. And we talked about this in reference. I love to garden, so I love all gardening
Yes.
analogies. Like, I can't just throw a seed in sandy or clay or uncultivated soil. It doesn't have the nutrients it needs to grow,
Right.
right? You can't just throw it out there and expect it's going to grow. So there is work cultivating the garden of your relationship, cultivating the garden of your ideas and thoughts and framings of sexuality between you. That's like getting the soil ready to then start planting some of these seeds.
Right. And so I was a little concerned because the concept sounded good to me, but it sounded scary to me too. What's really going to happen if I try to consume? Because just what you talked about, we'd been in a bad place there. And so there was a little PTSD for me. If I do that, will this take me back to that place where I'm trying to extract from Amy? And I really had to center myself and trust us. I think that's one biggest thing is that we've learned that we now can go and try things. And if it doesn't work, I'm not going to have to guess. We talked about in our last podcast, like we had one of our big blowups lately was I had this great idea that we're going to try. And when we tried it, it totally failed. But I
Wah,
didn't
wah,
have to
wah.
guess. I didn't
It
have to
was
sit
a
there and
flop.
Amy and wonder whether she's like, hey, this isn't working for me. This just does not work. And this is why. And so because I knew that, I was able to get over my fears. And okay, if this doesn't work for some reason, Amy is going to let me know. And so for the few days after that podcast, I really went into engaging Amy through all of our ways we do every day, emotional check-ins, our snuggling in the morning, but went into a consumption mindset. And it was actually quite fabulous for me. And I think for you too, was not?
Yeah, let me just explain in case you haven't listened to Dr. Snyder. He talks about instead of trying to produce arousal in your spouse, he talks about taking pleasure in their presence and to move from the idea of producing to just enjoying.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to both spouses. I don't care where your desire level is at. I think both spouses get stuck in the production mindset when then sexual intimacy feels like work for the higher desire. If they're like, it's my job to arouse my wife, feels like work for the lower desire wife. If I have to produce arousal and orgasm in order for him to feel validated. And so it gets into this production work frame from either end.
Right.
And so this is flipping it and saying, you're allowed to just enjoy.
I was totally condemned around the part of the book when it talked about trying to start your partner. I pulled that lawnmower rope for so long time.
Compared me to a tractor.
I pushed the prime button over and over again. I knew she had fuel. I knew she had oxygen. What the hell? Why is this not starting? And I spent a lot part of my life trying to turn you on.
Yeah, and it doesn't work. It's not sexy. It doesn't feel good. It's not desirable. You then start feeling like a project.
Yeah.
And nobody really wants to feel like a project.
And so it was quite amazing when I was able to center myself and be present. That was an important part. And then engage Amy and just enjoy her. Just consume her. Just take her in. And it was quite fabulous. And we were able to do this throughout the day, right? We were having these moments of simmering where I would come down to your office and I would talk to you and say something. And then now I'm going to tell you how we got off the rails.
Because there's always
because we always do.
There's
I
always
told
a
you
detour.
I will always mess up, so we'll have something to talk about on this podcast. And here we go again. So one day I came down to the office and I whispered in her ear exactly what I wanted to do to her that night, and she was like, "Ooh, that sounds good. Consumption. Yes, take me in." Well, that wasn't the bad part.
No, that was fine.
The bad part is I have this way of having expectations. And as soon as she's like, yeah, take me in, I went and I played the scene out over and over again. And I got excited about it. And I was like, I can't wait till this is going to happen. And my whole day was like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? I was looking at my watch. We were going through all the things. I knew that night we were getting to bed and I was going to consume her in this way. And I was so excited.
Or wound up.
And guess what?
Well, and you also picked a day that I had one of my longest, hardest, most intense schedules. So I come out of the day. Yes, we'd been connected. Yes, we'd had many good moments. But I come out of the day like exhausted.
So during our emotional connection, even I didn't even get a chance to try to consume her. It wasn't even get there. During our emotional connection, she goes, "You feel needy." That was one of her emotions, and I'm like, totally was a slap upside the head, and she nailed it. Tried to play it back like, I don't know, I'm not needy, but I was coming at it.
It
I'm
slipped.
needy. It slipped back into, and really, this is one of the most important things that I've learned. It's okay to go fantasize and think about that stuff. It's good. Amy enjoys that I do it because I'm able to bring excitement back into the bedroom for us. And it's not a bad thing. But in the moment, when you're about to enjoy or be part of your spouse and have this moment, if you've spent all your time in the future fantasizing about it, it just doesn't work.
Now you got to come back to the present.
It doesn't work. You can do that as long as you can get back to the present and be okay with whatever happens in that moment. If I hadn't wound myself up so much and I'd been in the present, we would have gone through this and she would have been tired and I would have known it. It would have been okay. We wouldn't have had this comment of me being needy and kind of slapped me upside the head. So this kind of started unraveling a little bit of the week, I think, for us. It wasn't as unstabling as it once used to be, where we would really kind of go into a spiral.
Where it'd pull the rug out from under us.
And so it wasn't that. I was able to stabilize myself. I didn't think I was an awful person or there's something terrible or Amy didn't love me. I didn't go to any of those places. But here we are on this like rocket trajectory of just enjoying each other. And the rocket went out. And now we're floating down with a parachute. We're not colliding to the earth, going to crash in pieces, but we're not heading to the atmosphere anymore by any means, are we?
That's a good analogy.
It's the perfect analogy because we were rocketing and we're not going to eat it, but we're not going up anymore.
So, yeah, we were kind of slowly floating down.
And what a difference. I mean, it was kind of a stark difference.
Like the energy just shifted and changed.
Completely.
And yeah. I lost you.
Well, not quite then. Like, I was still pretty engaged. There was another moment that you lost me. So we made it a couple more days and everything was fine. And we were back to our normal. We enjoyed our emotional sharing. We were doing our snuggling in the morning and everything was fine. But it definitely wasn't this like consumption rocket ship simmering every time and all being on a high. What did he say? That get a buzz and be stupid? You know?
Yeah, lose IQ points.
Yeah, Dr. Snyder talked about having that buzz. And we had that buzz for like 4 days straight. So that wasn't there. But we were back to kind of our normal. And then later, another day of the week, I went through my normal routine in the morning and Amy rolls over and goes, "Why are you up so early? Why are you waking me up so early?" And I'm like, whoa, holy cow.
Sorry, babe.
I didn't realize that you'd had a rough night.
Yes. I had a really rough night. And I usually don't.
And that's when you kind of lost me. But I think it was a little different. Before I would distance myself.
And I did apologize.
You did very much apologize. I very
said, hey, that was totally me. I totally was in this sleep haze days fighting for survival at that moment. And I apologized. It was completely my fault. Totally 100%. And I asked to reconnect. And you kind of did.
It took me a little bit. I did distance myself, but not out of a punishment distance. I just felt we needed like a little space to recollect ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to give her space. I'm going to take my space. I'm going to figure out where we're at because that was totally out of left field for me. It slapped me in it. And it probably would have been less, I probably would have had taken less of a notice of it if it hadn't been for the past events of us gliding down from a rocket parachute from the sky. And so We might have been 30 feet above the water and clipped the cords at that point and splashed down.
And in all fairness to you, you actually slept really well that night
All
and
right.
had no idea
Yeah, I had no idea she'd
that
struggled
I
or
didn't.
she didn't sleep.
And
So
so it felt early. It was a little earlier, but not really.
no, it wasn't a little earlier.
It was really just
My body wakes up at the exact same time every day, no matter what. And that's the time I woke up.
it was me just being exhausted
It
and
was
I
early for
snapped.
you. Yep.
And I
Yep.
was wrong. And
Yep.
I apologize.
So we were able to really steady ourselves to that point and overcome it. But I guess I wanted to go back, and I told Amy I really wanted to go back and talk about this on our podcast. One, because we're selfishly use this as our own therapeutic sessions when we talk about it, and it's quite amazing. I didn't know that was going to be the benefit of doing a podcast. So we had some really good conversations about insights about where we're at and what happened. But I wanted to also share it with you because I wanted you to know the real part of this, right? It was like when we learned tantric sex the first time, and I'm like, this sucks. It doesn't work, right? Because I couldn't get out of my head. But I wanted to share that with you, that it's a struggle. And we just want to be real and share that with you too. Like there were some really amazing concepts that we talked about in Dr. Snyder's, and we were able to engage and have just this miraculous, wonderful time. But we didn't quite make it all the way.
And I wonder if we weren't able to quite sustain that level of buzz. I don't know how else to call it.
Because it was so intense.
Consumption, because it was intense. And so maybe there is an ebb and flow in that level of intensity that has to happen. And you have to break that or lower that a little to be able to come back.
Yeah, I definitely think there's ebbs and flows in that, for sure, because this has been the best weekend of my life.
Craigie. Quiet now.
I'll just say this: we might be outside the atmosphere, circa orbiting the Earth now.
His rocket launched. We'll say that.
Is it not true?
No, it is. Yes.
And so I definitely believe that you're right. There's this ebbs and flows of erotic energy that happen, and the number one thing that I think I take away from here is that you cannot control erotic energy. It hates to be bound or put in a box or used to manipulate.
Or given a goal or an outcome.
Or, an outcome or change.
To produce.
Yes, absolutely. And when that erotic energy was flowing freely, it was fantastic. It was fabulous, right?
Yeah. Or when it flows freely, it's amazing. You feel like the grass is greener, the sky is bluer, your spouse is more attractive, you feel loved, you feel known, you feel like you're on this happy high.
And that was totally the fuel that got us lifted off the earth, that would put us towards going to the atmosphere. And then whenever I tried to put it in a boundary or a box or use it to get me somewhere, as soon as I did that, it cut out. Done. It was gone.
It is wild how quickly that energy can shift. And I think that's just the signal of what it takes to sustain and maintain. And the minute that we shift out of that, whether it's me or you, it's like gone.
Yeah. You're right. Maybe we can't have that constant sustain of that huge energy of eros because our lives and days get in the way. You didn't sleep one night.
Yeah.
You have no control of that.
And I was extra busy a couple days because we're taking other days off next week. And that's normal.
I slipped back into some habits of trying to put together this scene that I had played out in my mind over and over again. Those moments, as soon as we did that, eros energy just went away. It was gone.
Because we slipped from just enjoying to trying to
use,
define, or create.
Yeah.
No, not create. That's the wrong word. Produce.
Yeah, we went back to a production mindset instead of just enjoying consuming what that energy was at the time. We went back to trying to produce it and make it do a thing. And when you get to that making it do that thing, it's going away.
Yeah. And so as I coach women and men, again, I see this from both sides. I see men who think just because I'm spontaneous desire, I'm okay to produce arousal in my wife, but they're really not. It feels like work. And instead, it doesn't mean you may not still be the one initiating or pursuing or inviting, but instead you're enjoying that invite. You're not like, okay, I have to do, rah, 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 ABC. And from the women's side, it's really like I can enter into this space and enjoy the sensations, the touch, the meanings, the feelings. I don't have to have the same desire or drive that my spouse does. I can just enjoy what is.
Right. I think the one thing that really caught me too in that podcast is one of the answers that you had in the middle of that exchange. I haven't even told you this, so you don't know.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Snyder talked about how the hero never goes in there and rips off the heroine's clothes and then asks, "How do you want me to touch you?"
Yeah.
And you had responded, I can't even remember exactly how you responded. It's like, yeah, that is the most annoying thing about what do you want me to do? And I'm always in that because I thought I was being generous. Does this feel good? How do you want me to do that? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? And it really was something that when I went back to this, let's just enjoy and consume, I went away from that. Hey, I have to ask you every 5 seconds if it's going well, or have a staging event beforehand, planning out what we should do, because I thought it was the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And some of those conversations are good to learn and to understand and to know, right?
Mhm.
Spending exercises like the touching and my feeling exercises that we have our couples do, and some of those things, just laying in bed naked and understanding what feels good and what doesn't, is really foundational to the point to really understand what feels good to your wife. Dr. Sider says, knowing that biting the nipples hurts, don't do that, right?
Don't
Or
do
knowing
that.
where the clitoris is, that's good. Those basic things really are the foundational things. But it did change my mindset of where I was going, that I was just going to enjoy and consume her. And I don't think in those 3 days I asked you once how it was going or what I should do, did I?
Nope. And it's a relief for a lot of women. Let me just say we tend to be the ones with the mental load around, like a lot of times around things that need to happen in the home or with the children. I'm not saying that husbands don't have mental load, but for some reason they tend, as soon as arousal seems to happen, they tend to be able to put that away. And whereas women are more present in the decisions and different things like that, like we've talked about it, like having all the computer tabs open. And so if they're trying to shut the tabs and they're simultaneously being asked, do you want this? Do you want this? It's like opening new
Oh,
tabs.
interesting. I never thought about that.
And
We get them
so,
all closed down, then we open 10 more, and you're like, now your mind's just off somewhere else.
right. And so as a woman, I am just focusing on closing those tabs, one at a time, focusing on being present, focusing on noticing sensations, focusing on noticing how it feels to be spoiled, to be cherished, to be adored, like the emotions of that, the sensations of that. And yeah, it's almost like if you start asking too many questions, then it's just reopening tabs.
Yeah, interesting. So don't take this, my friends, on the male spontaneous side, that you can just go do whatever you want and that's good. That's not what we're saying here. In fact, once you do that, it usually goes into a production kind of mindset. So it really does take you being solid in yourself and being centered to know where you're at, and then just enjoying your spouse completely. And I think because it wasn't a production thing, I could just be in the moment and just really enjoy it. And so there was no worry that I was going out of bounds or doing things that weren't enjoyable, because I was just enjoying it. And there was no question in my mind we weren't enjoying this thing together.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Snyder also talked about one of the words that women use the most is surrender. And I actually used that word on this podcast we went back to from 3.5 years ago. So when he said it, it resonated with me. There's a line in there in their last podcast we had that he says it almost quietly.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, that's the line we should put an exclamation point on,
And
because
he
it's the most
says
important one.
something, help me get this right, Greg.
He said, surrender is someone who's worth surrendering to.
Yes.
And I'm like, I wanted to put those in capital letters and shout it, like, is worth the surrendering to.
So that implies that the other parts of your relationship, you have good partnership. You're able to work through, different emotions. You're able to be supportive and knowing of each other. That's part of what really allows a woman to surrender, is she knows the man who is taking pleasure in her is worth surrendering to.
Yeah, I'm sure there's women out there yelling, surrender? What are you talking about? What's he going to do to me if I surrender to him? I remember our good friends that are our clients. I'm not afraid to go up the stairs with him. I'm just afraid what's in that room. Like, what is he going to ask me to do next? And so it is having that trust that you have each other's back, that it truly is a partnership. that you're working in this together, and it's not something you're trying to extract or take from her. You're just trying to enjoy her, and then she can surrender to you.
And if anything becomes not enjoyable for either spouse, and this part I think really blows their mind, I should say.
Stop it.
Stop.
Or we'll bury you alive in a box.
Rewind. Hold each other for a moment. Take a breath. Some couples need a code word. And I've had a lot of couples need a code word to say, to be able to have that permission to pause, to stop. That is always okay. It's much preferred to the pushing, to the producing, to shifting into make this work. Please don't.
And I know at first for us, it was hard to do. One, because you were such in the producing mindset that you have to make this work, and
That you
give it
couldn't
to
be
me.
disappointed.
And that, but I didn't understand the difference of being disappointed and then also meaning something's wrong with me too. So I had to do my own work of knowing, hey, we're going to be in these moments and they're not going to work out. And that's just okay, because it doesn't mean anything bad about me or my sexuality. Even in those moments, like we told you, when it totally flopped, it was one of those things I asked Amy to go try. And it was out of her comfort zone to do it. I would never asked her in the past. I would have quietly had that expectation. So I was brave enough to ask her. But when it didn't work and it was a complete flop, I would have gone to a very dark place in the past. I would have gone to my sexuality is evil. I can't believe I asked her to do that. I can't believe that I tried to get her to do something that she didn't want. But when you're collaborating and co-collaborating in those areas, it's just Amy's, no, didn't work at all. And I'm like, that's disappointing. Really disappointing. I had hoped it would.
Not my cup of tea. It's like when you go to try a restaurant and it's got rave reviews and you think it's going to be amazing, and you go and you're like, wah, wah, wah. It wasn't all that great.
But I'll tell you this, right? I am orbiting the Earth right now because a variation of what failed, right? We collaborated together again and talked about it, and we tried it again a slightly different way. And it's been one of the best weekends of my whole entire life as far as connecting with Amy. I really believe that. And so it is this ebb and flow. It's this willingness to give and take, this willingness not to make it mean something about you, this willingness to stand up and say, no, that doesn't really do that for me. And taking that feedback and be able to implement it. And it's not easy. It's hard. And we fell at it. And I have those moments that I want to go back to that dark place. But I just know that's not what gets us closer together.
Even from my side of the street, I had to learn to be able to hear those and go, okay, that sounds interesting or intriguing to him. That's totally okay. I get to choose if this is something I want to try or not try, or find what might be intriguing for me, and have that willingness to engage myself and not immediately put it into an expectation category where then I am creating the pressure. So,
I mean, actually, if you don't know Amy very well, she is a high producer. She gets shit done and she does a very good job of it. And so it's no surprise that it goes to that place of, hey, now I have to put it on my list of things to do.
Which isn't fair to you, because for sure, if it becomes a production thing, it's not going to be desirable. So I really have to be checking in with myself, not making it mean that I am not good enough or worthy enough or my desire is bad or wrong or whatever all those old narratives were. And just allowing myself the freedom to see, to explore, to decide, to collaborate, or to say, hey, not this, but what about this? Or, that doesn't seem enticing, or is there another way to make this enticing? Or even coming back and asking you what's meaningful to you in that, or what's enticing to you about that. Like, just some freedom there.
I think the bravest thing you've ever done in our marriage, and maybe not, I'll say this and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Oh, this will be
I perceive the bravest thing you've ever done in our marriage was being willing to disappoint me. And, that's really changed when you were willing to say, it's okay that Greg's disappointed.
That I'm trying to intentionally disappoint you.
No, I'm not saying that at all. You're not going about it and doing it, but because it's on the plate, then there's a choice. It goes back to when we talk about divorce, right? We never put divorce on the plate, then you're not really choosing the person, because when there's only one thing to do, there's not a choice. There's not A and B, so you can't choose. At this moment when you're willing to disappoint, it gave you an A and a B.
Yes.
And then you chose me because you were willing to be honest. It's like this. I say, go to a fine restaurant, and if you want to know how good the waiter is and how honest they are, ask them what the worst thing on the menu is. And if they say, oh, nothing, this is the greatest restaurant, I've tried everything and it's wonderful, they're lying to you. They just want to sell you. But they go, oh, I've tried the salmon and it's not that good. It's a little dry. But this is really good. This is my favorite dish. So they're being authentic and honest with you because they're telling you the truth and they're giving you options. And I really think it's the same way in this marriage. As soon as you are willing to be brave enough to say, it's okay to disappoint. And I was brave enough to say, it's okay to be disappointed. It took both sides, right? It opened up choice. And that's really what we're fighting. That's every single person. I have not come across a single person that I had coached or talked to. The core to what we're all fighting for is to be chosen.
Yeah. And I think the willingness to disappoint, what was at the core of that was a willingness to be honest and to not make it my work or job to keep you happy.
Yep.
You are fully responsible whole person. You have things that are disappointing and things that are wonderful and things that are challenges and strengths. And it's not my job to keep you happy. And I think I released myself from that job, because when it is your job, I got fired in the very best way.
You're fired.
Because when it is your job, I was taking ownership, and in my taking ownership of you, losing track of myself, which right there, we just lost intimacy.
Yeah, no intimacy at all. I was coaching a client this week. He was explaining to me how he withholds some of these troubles and emotions that he has from his wife. And I said, it's not loving. And the look I got him on his face was like, what? I'm like, that's not loving. You're not loving her well. He's like, what? I said, yeah, you don't trust her. You're not treating her as a whole human being, big and grown up enough to be able to process and deal with her own emotions. And you think it sounds very heroic. It sounds wonderful because I'm saving her from this pain and suffering. But it's just the opposite. It's not loving at all. But it's so confusing because that's what we've been taught for so long, is that's the loving thing, is to keep our spouses happy. And that's our job.
And again, we're not saying we want you to go out and intentionally be unkind or cruel. That's not it. It's just that sometimes what you have to say or address or confront is painful or disappointing. And ignoring that doesn't make the pain or the disappointment go away. It just
amplifies it
underground. And eventually, when it finally comes up, it's become so intensified, it's a mess. And so it's that willingness to confront those. And it's not fun and it doesn't feel good. But you see, for the larger context of the relationship, it's good for the relationship. It's good for both people in the relationship to not pretend or hide or avoid or be masking what's going on. It's better to address it than to not address it.
It's the hard work of intimacy, of being a relationship. And we truly believe that why sexual intimacy is the most fabulous thing in the whole entire world. I will tell you that. It's one of my favorite things on the planet and not on the planet and in the universe. And I don't know, name it. The other universes next to us, it's better than that. That really is not the sign of true intimacy. It's the canary in the coal mine. It's the byproduct of real intimacy, which means that you can connect on a spiritual and emotional level, that you can trust each other, that you're willing to be open and honest with each other and work through the struggles you're having. That's the foundational part that allows you to get to this beautiful, wonderful sexual intimacy. And everyone wants to jump to the, how do I get great sex? That's what we always want to jump to. And I've had clients almost left me because they're like, wait, we're working on this stuff. Why aren't we getting that? I'm like, we'll get there. We'll get there. But if you don't fix these things, you won't be able to do it because of what we're talking about here, right? It takes that fundamental trust and underlying things you have to be able to be the most exposed you'll ever be. And that eros and that wonderful feeling is born and lives in that exposure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's where it grows and develops. And until you can have that exposure, you're not going to be able to get there.
And I think another thing, I'm thinking of just different conversations that have happened this week. As I was talking with a group of men that I coach, they had believed that the point of a conversation was to get both people on the same page. So they would move into this, I have to be right, or you have to agree with me, or I have to agree with you. And intimacy is not about having the same opinion. It's not about convincing the other person that they need to agree with you or folding in because you just want this argument to be over. Intimacy is that willingness to be two whole people with maybe two very different opinions and still choose. And so the goal isn't like, let me move you to my side. Let me convince you that my idea or my thought or my feeling is right. It's not about that at all. It's more about I'm willing to say, like, for example, being willing to say, that doesn't really interest me, Greggy. I appreciate that that is meaningful for you and that is totally fine and you are totally allowed that. But for me, that's just not something I
Yeah.
want to participate in, and letting that truth stand.
So there's two things that happened just right then that maybe were subtle that you didn't get, or I didn't get at first, but now thinking about it, I think this is what I take from it, is when Amy said that doesn't do that for me. That wasn't the end of the conversation. She said, that doesn't do that for me, but I'm okay that it does it for you. There's nothing wrong with it doing it for you. And that wasn't okay in the past. Like I would have been shamed for having this desire. And so there's two major things that happened. It was speaking up and being honest and saying, hey, this isn't doing it for me. And then not having the judgmental or thought that she needed to change me to be like her either. And just as the same way as I used to try to change her to be like me, she tried to shame me to be different.
Yeah.
And that was the two things that went away there. And it's subtle, but it's really important. It's, hey, that's you. And I love you for who you are. You know, she's talked about being utterly afraid of my sexuality before. It just would make her so scared. And she's learned to trust and be okay with it and enjoy it, but speak up when it does do something that's not comfortable for her, but not shame me because of it.
Yeah. That's intimacy, though, to be able to allow you to be your whole person, to allow me to be my whole person, and then to find a way where for us to enjoy each other together.
And we grow together, right? We learn and grow. And that's the beautiful part about it, is that if you had asked me 2 years ago what my marriage and intimacy would look like, I'd tell guys, just get the hell out of the way. Stop trying to force and make something of this and start to collaborate. And it will be better than even your great imaginations. And I know you all have them because you have great fantasies. I believe it because I know it. It's better than that.
And it's better because of the quality of presence of both people.
And the connection.
And that connection, again, requires two whole people. Not the same, but actually two whole people with all of their differences and all of this, just everything, their essences of who they are and how they approach and interact and engage in the world.
We are very different people.
I don't know that you could find two
And
people.
we spent a lot of time trying to make ourselves the same. And it caused a lot of pain.
That's just a power struggle right there.
It caused so much pain. So if you're in that power struggle, that's not where you want to be.
No, you'll never win. You both lose.
Yep.
Drop the rope.
Oh, how many times did I think that? And how many clients have told me, but if I give in here, then she wins. It's not a contest of who wins or not. But that's my mindset too. I told myself that so many times, so I get it. It's not the mindset. Well, we just want you to go back, and especially as we bring these guests on and as we talk about some of these concepts, we want you to always remember the foundation of connection and trust and being able to communicate to each other where each other are at and work towards a common goal. And if those foundation parts aren't there, then it's going to get messy really fast.
And that's what we do in coaching. Help you build those foundations and then help you take them all the way through to building your sexual intimacy.
I don't know if I can put in words how gratifying it is to leave space for a couple and watch them grow and develop.
Mhm.
It's almost selfish. Like I almost feel like I'm sitting in a sacred moment and I'm partaking
Mhm.
of them. But it is just a blessing to be able to watch. Mind shifts and things move and have them start moving towards each other and see them realize this intimacy they've always wanted in their marriage and could never have.
I'm thinking of a couple I coached this week, and we were working on their meanings, and there had been a lot of service duty, work-based meanings, and we went back to just let's let affection be enjoyable and let's see what is enjoyable and let's discover. And they come back a couple weeks later and they're like, "Oh, we kind of like each other again. We like just being next to each other.
Wow.
We like, snuggling at night or holding each other, or we like used to sit on separate couches and now they're like on the same couch like, hey, we like to be together." And just starting to discover that the goodness in enjoying each other's company again.
So easy to forget. Life gets in the way and it puts up walls and bruises and pains that keep you from doing it. And we would love nothing else to be able to help you see what those are and give you some input on what you can do to overcome them. Please go visit us on langfordlifecoaching.com. We'd love to have you there. There's resources up there for you, books that we've talked about with our authors on.
And we have another one coming
Oh
up
my
in
gosh.
December we're excited
Are we
about.
going to announce it?
No, not yet.
Oh my gosh, I want to announce it. Really exciting. We have another one coming up. But we have all those resources for you, and we have the ability for you to sign up for a free consultation. Again, if that's all that we do, that's great. If we can spend 45 minutes helping you get in a direction that will help your marriage, that's what we want to do. And we would love you to join us.
Yes, we would. Please go check us out. Or email us any of your thoughts, Amy at langfordlifecoaching.com or Greg at langfordlifecoaching.com. We'd love to hear any feedback you have.
That's right. Go like and subscribe to this podcast. It helps us to continue to be able to get it out to more people, and it's growing and exciting, and it blows my mind where we're at. So thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. And until next time,
keep undressing your intimacy.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.